All right, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, good people. I pray all is well with you whenever you hear this message. I want to share with you what I consider to be one of the gateway lessons for African American practitioners. A gateway lesson in the sense that if you get this right, it'll be much easier for you to avoid being deceived, hustled, and scammed by outright hustlers as well as well-meaning but uninformed practitioners or would-be subject matter experts slash ritual specialists. I hope you understand where I'm coming from. There are a lot of people who just don't know better, and they haven't been fully exposed to the real defining principles of the tradition, and they're just doing what they think is best. And so one of the most universally, acceptable ways in which we as African Americans fall into this category and we become, from in political terms, we become useful idiots. And that's a real political term. You should look it up. What is a useful idiot? One of the ways that we become useful idiots is by promoting this idea of Iwakwele, because it sounds so good and it aligns so nicely with our Christian background and upbringing. Even if you weren't raised in a hardcore Christian environment, the ethos of Christianity, which is, expressed through the Ten Commandments and statements like love your neighbor like yourself, stuff like that, that saturates our thought process and our motivations. And so Iwakwele plays very nicely into that conditioning that we're very familiar with. And so I want to share a post that I made on social media earlier today and break it down a little bit more so that folks can really grasp, so that you, my students, really can grasp this lesson, and like I said, protect yourself from being derailed by this Iwakwele conditioning. Let me back up one more step before I share this. This also comes out of a much older post that I had shared about 5 years ago. Ever so often, I would do surveys, right? And I would ask people, for example, what's more important? What's a higher priority? Good intentions or proper training? And in this particular instance, it's like 84%. I did this survey over several platforms. I did it on YouTube. I used a Google form. I did Facebook. And I think I may even shared it on Patreon. And so I, did my best to aggregate the data, and it's like on average, 84% of all the respondents said that good intentions were more important than proper training. And so, again, this idea of good intentions is rooted in the Yoruba concept of Iwakwele, but it plays nicely with our Christian background, right? If I'm a good person, then the divinities will favor me. I don't have to know anything, but if I at least say I'm a good person, if I really believe I'm a good person, and I believe that what I'm doing is right, then of course the Orisha are going to accept it, and that's all that really matters. Okay. So that being said, let me dive into this post and dissect it so that we can continue the conversation in a more meaningful way here among ourselves. So it reads this way: by overstating the importance of Iwakwele, we have made it a hideout for mediocrity. Conveniently, Iwakwele cannot be measured. It cannot be taught. In fact, it is so subjective, Iwakwele can hardly even be defined. All right, so let's break that down a little bit. 9 out of 10 people think, erroneously, for example, that Iwakwele means good character. Iwakwele does not mean good character. Iwakwele means gentle character. There are a variety of other ways that you could say good character. Iwarere, Iwatito, and so on. Iwakwele is gentle character. Okay, so one of the ways I like to illustrate the significance of that is Orunmila has Iwakwele, Oshun has Iwakwele, Obatala has Iwakwele, Boshango, Ogun, Obaluwaye, Eshuelegbara. They do not have Iwakwele. They do not. They are not gentle. They are not gentle. Now, they are truthful. They are righteous. They are upholders of equity and justice. Yes. That's why we venerate them. That's why we look to them and emulate them. But they are not gentle. Right? The Orisha Funfun, like Yemoja, the white cloth or Orisha, they have gentle character. Right? So we gotta first begin with, okay, when you say Iwakwele, what are you really talking about? Iwakwele is a high virtue because it speaks to a regal presence. Iwakwele is closely aligned with another concept, afarabale. Afarabale, which means to put your chest on the ground. Put your chest on the ground. It's a show of humility. It's poise. Right? That's Iwakwele. That's what Orunmila has. He's cool under pressure. That's what Oshun has. They can exercise and demonstrate patience under all circumstances. Right? And all the deities benefit from adopting those attributes and habits from Orunmila in particular. But it is not the fundamental expression or identity of all the deities across the board. Okay, so given the fact that most people erroneously think that Iwakwele is good character, they're lumping honesty, integrity, they're just lumping all these virtues into Iwakwele. That's what I mean by, it can't be, it's so ambiguous that it's almost impossible to define. When are you actually supposed to be practicing gentle character? And what does that look like? Right? When we talk about what it looks like, then we start looking at articulating what kinds of behaviors and habits are associated with Iwakwele, right? When we talk about measuring it and teaching it, how do you teach somebody character? How do you teach it? Right? As a parent and a student of life, you already know. Who taught you character? Character is not a subject, is what I'm trying to get to. Because it's the essence of a thing, character is not something that you isolate and you address by itself, right? Like ethics. Everything you do is saturated with Iwakwele. It's how you think, it's how you speak, it's how you work, it's how you build, it's how you resolve conflict. It's everything that you do. It's a relentless, unbroken focus and commitment to act and present yourself in a certain way. And you've got to live through 10,000 different scenarios and still maintain a certain quality and vibration in order to actually exude gentle character. So it is the medium through which all other things are experienced and expressed. That's very difficult to measure, right? But that's what I mean by it's convenient, because it falls into the category of, like, also another gateway lesson, destiny. Oh, people tell you that Ifa is all about destiny, 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 but they can't define it. See, they can't define it. They can't tell you what destiny actually is. They can't show you, hey, this person is living their destiny. It's right. This person has fulfilled their destiny. Have they? I always tell people, hey, Ifa's not going to tell you your destiny. Hate to break it to you. I know that's what the word on the streets is, but I want you to give me the verse of Ifa that was recited to you that said, this is your destiny. And by hearing that verse, you knew yourself, and then you lived your destiny. It's ridiculous, but that's part of the hustle. That's why that's a gateway lesson, because people will string you along and they'll tell you that this is your destiny. I'm telling you your destiny. If I was going to tell you, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You have to know your destiny and commit to it, just like you got to know that this is your character, and you're going to express it under all circumstances, no matter who's with you or who's not with you, no matter who's behind you or who's against you. You are going to be a certain way. That's your character. And you got to do it over and over and over and over and over again. It's not something that you teach. It's something that you do. It's something that you be. Okay? So that's what I mean in that opening paragraph there. It cannot be measured. It cannot be taught. And it's so subjective that it can hardly be defined. But as long as people keep talking about it and pulling you into this fantasy, this imaginary, amorphous thing like heaven, then they can keep stringing you along. Okay? And stringing you along with the idea that as long as you are good, or you say you're good, you have favor with the divinities, and you've met the criteria to be able to then do anything else that you want to do. You can carry out any ritual, you can make any medicine, just so long as you have good intentions and you have good character. The divinities are going to support you. That's a hustle. That's a scam. Okay? You got to open your eyes and be very practical. That's a hustle. Conversely, if I say otototo, orororo, ototolanje pa, ototolanji mumu, every awo romila on earth who practices Isheshe, everyone knows that is Ejiogbe. Everybody. If you don't know, now you do. But if you've been around for more than 45 minutes, you know that is Ejiogbe. Okay? Likewise, if I have Obi, Orogbo, Epo, Ati, and Omi, every Olorisha in the world is going to know the order of operations. What comes first, what comes second, what they do, what you say when you offer those. Right? It's definitive. It's measurable. It's clearly articulated. It's unmistakable. Either you know it or you don't. Either you can do it or you can't. And that's the part that the Iwakbele hustlers don't like. They avoid that because it means that there is a definitive structure and way of doing things, which means that there is a way that you don't do things. There's a correct methodology and then there's an incorrect methodology. And they want to be able to do whatever they want in the name of good character. right? So my emphasis on training is there to combat, again, you being just strung along into some journey that has no definitive destination. You will hear one way or another the Iwakwele, you know, exponents who are aversive to training. They'll tell you stuff like, you can know all the chants, you can know all the 256, you can know all the rituals, you can know all the offerings, but if you don't have good character, then none of that matters. That's part of the hustle. That's part of the hustle. What they're saying is, I don't know anything, or I'm not going to commit to anything. I'm not going to acknowledge the fact that there is a real protocol because I want free, unlimited latitude to do whatever I want. And so they implant this idea that there's some cadre of people, of priests and priestesses, who somehow become well versed in all the knowledge and the protocols and the rituals and the ceremonies, but they're so wicked and so morally bankrupt that the knowledge is made irrelevant. The implication is that I am greater and more powerful than the real knowledgeable ones because I am truly good. That's the hustle. Okay. Now I'm externalizing it into these folks who I'm calling the Ewok Bele gang, and you know what I mean. I'm making a caricature of them just to identify the thinking and the conditioning. Most importantly, it's essential, it's necessary that you address that line of thinking within yourself. Okay? It isn't exclusively about that group of people out there. It's not about them. Ultimately, it's about you. It's about me. It's about addressing within yourself. Hey, there's a part of me that wants to believe that I can feel my way through this. I can improvise my way through this. I don't really have to follow directions. I don't really have to. And I want you to address that face on. I want you to acknowledge that within yourself, and I want you to make a commitment to reject that, to betray that line of thinking. Because that is also what makes you not commit to the teachings here in the school. That's what allows you to come and get the content day after day after day after day, get the invitations to the class week after week after week after week, and you don't come. You come and you watch. You see it come through your news feed. You see it come into your inbox. You hear it week after week after week after week, but you don't progress and you don't learn. That's a part of your mind that you've got to address and say, hey, that isn't serving me. It's not why I'm here. My complacency and my belief that there's some magic bullet that if you know what I mean, my heart and my virtues are going to somehow enable me to transcend the limitations of my actual knowledge and skill. You got to route that out. That's not how this tradition works. This tradition works more like law, in a court of law. You got to know the law. And not only do you have to know the law, you've got to be able to articulate the law in front of the judge. And you got two people two lawyers, and they're fighting. And the judge is going to hear both sides. And the judge can obviously know the law as well as or better than both of the attorneys, but it's the one who makes the better case that's going to win the day. You got to be committed to knowing the law and then being able to articulate it and implement it under changing circumstances. It requires a lot of focus. It requires a lot of energy. Good intentions are not going to win the day for you. That's why the School of Orisha Studies is in place. That's why the Orisha Lifestyle Academy exists. I'm trying to equip you with everything that you need to go out and advocate for your vision of life, to really enable you to set the stage for you to express and expound upon your values and make your contribution to the world. Okay. So I hope this lesson has been significant for you, and I want to open up the conversation for us to dialogue and share insights into what we can do better and how we can grow in our practice and in the fulfillment of our personal destinies as well as our collective mission as a community. Because as you know, this is all about leadership. I'm making that call to the leaders, the folks who are really committed to improving the world through positive influence. You are here. You're one of those folks. Get involved. Take your lessons to the highest level, and let's work together to help bring about the good condition for ourselves and those who we are destined to serve. I look forward to working more closely with you. Bye for now. Odabo.